Thank you for volunteering for Leonard Springs Nature Day. This orientation is for the Creek Station. There are 2 different locations and you'll be assigned your location once you arrive at the park. They are both, of course, located at the creek, and since that's down a long flight of stairs, when you check in at the front gate, you will receive a walkie-talkie. You'll also receive a name tag to wear for the day and a t-shirt if you don't have one. Whenever you get to the top of the stairs, you will have a bin. If you're at Creek 2, you'll have a table, and both stations will have a net to carry down to the station. At the station, when the students arrive, they will have their journals passed out, and then they will be divided into 2 smaller groups, and there are 2 different sections to this station. One section will be 15 minutes, and then rotate, and the kids will visit the other station. The 2 different stations are, one is macroinvertebrates and one is chemical and physical testing of the water. They have places in their journal to record information about each of the stations that they visit, and we will go through the items that are in your bin right now. So once you open up your bin, you want to get this all laid out before the students arrive. And first things first, you need to catch some critters if you're at the macroinvertebrate half of the station. So you've got some bins in here to catch critters, and you'll use your nets. Fill up this bin with some water, some rocks, to make a nice little habitat for the critters while they are visiting your station for the day, and use the nets, lift up some rocks, and catch what you can out of the creek. We always have some expert critter catchers, so if you're having trouble, don't worry. We'll get you plenty of things to have in your bin. Also in your bin are some smaller containers so you can isolate crayfish or specific critters that you want to look at. And you also have some magnifying glasses. So you've got several of these critter containers. They have a little well here so you can put a little water and the critter inside. On top, you can have a magnified view from the top or from the side. So you can pre-assemble these, or you can catch things as the kids are at your station, trade them out if you find more interesting things. So once you have the critters and you have identified them, or you've looked at them, you've seen them up close, you need to identify them, because that's one of the questions that the kids have in their journals. You have lots of ID sheets. The kids can each have one of these to look at, and you'll see that they're in different categories. One of the important things that we are teaching about at this station is the health of the creek. And by looking at the macroinvertebrates, we are able to determine how healthy our stream is by what's living there. So you can see in group 1, these animals are very intolerant to pollution. So if we find something in this group, which we usually do, then we assume that it's a healthy place to live, because these animals do not like any sort of pollution. And the list goes on to animals that are very tolerant of pollution, so the water can be really dirty and these animals can still live here. So identify things the best you can, and it's an exploration with the kids. If you're not sure what something is, look at the ID sheet with them. You don't have to know all the answers. It's about exploring those answers with the kids. But take a look at the tails, the legs, count them, see if you can figure it out by that way. And have them figure it out more than you giving them the answers. Also, a part of this station is the second half, and that is the chemical and physical testing. We've got lots of supplies for that, and you will have this bucket that you can fill up with water, and within this bucket you can test the pH, which we have little strips. You have one of these strips per group, so each 15-minute section you will be able to do one pH test, and have the kids do it. Give them the pH strip, have them dip it in the water, and then they can use the chart on the outside of the bag to determine the pH, and have them discuss it as a group, what color they think it is, what the pH is, and have them record that in their journals. We also are testing dissolved oxygen. This is the dissolved oxygen test kit. Inside you will find a box which contains the samples. Pull out one of these samples, fill this with water, and then dip this in, and there's a little notch on the side that will help you to break off the tube. This is best for you to do because it does involve breaking glass. And then it will take up water into this tube and change the color to be one of these colors. This one's a little more subjective, and looking at this color range you can tell it's very different than the pH. So this is a great time to discuss with the kids what they think the color is, and let them decide what they think the dissolved oxygen is, and have them record that in their journal. We also have thermometers for you to take the temperature, and you can do that in the bucket of water as long as you get a fresh bucket at the beginning of each station. You can have a pretty accurate temperature reading of the water. And then once you gather all of your data at the end of each step, you want to talk about why it's important. All of those details are listed in your facilitator guide, so review the background information, and it can tell you more about what it means if the pH is high or low, what the dissolved oxygen means, and what the temperature means for the things that live there. This is the most important part, and we have lots of different charts and graphs to help you visually explain the ideas of pH, temperature, how temperature affects dissolved oxygen, and these are all concepts that you want to discuss with the kids and help them come to conclusions about what the health of the stream is. At the end of the station, since the kids are touching creek water, which can contain microorganisms, you want to be sure that everybody uses a little hand sanitizer before they move on to the next station. There are going to be group leaders at your station, and they are collecting and distributing the journals, and they will also help you keep track of time. You will have a schedule in your bin of what your time schedule is, but keep in mind that group leader may give you a little high sign that you've only got a couple of minutes left. At that point, you want to make sure that you're wrapping up and asking any follow-up questions, which are also listed on your facilitator guide. Please read over the facilitator guide and let me know if you have any questions. I'm happy to meet with you before the program if you want to come a little bit early, or if you want to set up a time in advance. I'm happy to meet with you, answer your questions by email or phone. Just let me know if you have any other questions, and thank you for volunteering.